Never mind.
My name is Bob Myers. I'm a member of the committee, and I'm very pleased to be able to introduce to you Dr. Mark Adler. Dr. Adler is currently in his 11th year leading Ralston Public Schools as superintendent. He's devoted more than 30 years to the success of Nebraska's public schools, serving students and families in Petersburg, Nebraska, my hometown of Elgin, Nebraska, Nebraska City, and then finally at Ralston. Mark graduated from Hastings High School in 1987 and served 6 years in the United States Army. Earned his doctorate in educational administration from the University of Nebraska in Omaha in 2008. Dr. Adler is a first-generation college student earning degrees from Kearney State College and the University of Nebraska at Kearney. He has served as an industrial technology teacher, football coach, basketball coach, bus driver, high school principal, activities director, assistant superintendent for business, and now superintendent of schools. Mark and his wife Joni have been married for 32 years, and they have 3 children. Jade, 25, is a West Point graduate and first lieutenant of the United States Army. Reed is eternally 15 years old, and Camille, 18, is a student at the University of Nebraska, Omaha. Dr. Adler has and will continue to be an advocate and a voice for all students and staff under his care. In a very diverse urban school district with high needs, Dr. Adler and his team are focused on providing an environment dedicated to achieving excellence through purposeful instruction, while nurturing a climate of hope for students and families. Dr. Adler is committed to cultivating new leaders each year through the Ralston Leadership Academy for administrators and teachers. Since the death of their son Reed in 2016, Mark and Joni have spoken to more than 50,000 people about bullying, appropriate use of technology, suicide, and spreading kindness and hope to everyone you meet. Hashtag be kind. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Mark Adler.
Thank you, Dr. Myers and Marie. One of my high school teachers is here, Mr. Reimer, so now I have to make sure that I tell all the truth and stuff like that. But it's an honor to be here. Like Dr. Myers said, this is my 32nd year in education. It's my honor to serve as superintendent of Ralston Public Schools. What he didn't tell you, I don't think, is this is my last year. So I'm gonna retire after this year. Not retire forever. Have things I still need to do. I'm only going to be 55 this summer, so I still have to work and do things like that. So have insurance and stuff like that you guys know. So I hope I hit the mark on what you want to hear today. I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 different things. Try to pack a lot into here. The first part is just about me and just my journey. I think it's always important to know about that. One of the things that that I'm proud of is being a first-generation college student. So if you don't know what that means you're the first person in your family to attend college. And we serve a lot of kids at our school. I'm going to talk a little bit about me. I'm going to talk a little bit about our school. I got 10 legislative bills I'm going to talk to you about. I'm going to talk to you about what I think is a crisis in education, and that's the teacher workforce. So there's stuff in there. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And then I'm going to talk about leadership in life, and that all around the loss of our son Reed back in 2016. But I'm a first-generation college student. My dad was a plumber, and my mom was a bookkeeper. Hard-working people. We lost them both quite a few years ago, but I respect them so much. And what I would say, growing up, is we had what we needed. We didn't always have what we wanted, but it was good. I think about it with my own kids. I've been fortunate enough to work in some awesome schools. I've been fortunate enough to work hard and make a good salary. And there are still days when I wonder, how in the heck did my parents make sure I had all the stuff I needed? And then I think about our kids, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of that today. That's hope. When I say our kids, those are the kids that I serve in Ralston, across the metro area. There are 13 superintendents, 13 districts across the Omaha metropolitan area. Ralston is 7 square miles right in the middle of the city. At one point, we were we were the affluent school in the city. We were the ones that had the money. We were the ones that are doing great stuff. And that's kind of went to the west of our city. So now that would be Elkhorn, Bennington, even Papilla Vista, just with a lot of wealth and new houses being built and those kinds of things. But we're still there, and we're still doing good stuff. But we serve a very diverse student population. 40 different languages are represented in our student body. Over 60% of our kids come from poverty. Here's what I'm proud of our school for. 25% of the kids that come to our school choose us from other districts outside of our district. I say to our teachers, that is an indication of quality that other people are certifying. Because when another parent says, I want my kid to go to your school, and they have to go through a particular process to get that student there, that's a big deal. And so we're proud of that. Like Dr. Meyer said, I'm really proud of my family. My oldest daughter, Jade, is a West Point graduate. She's currently a first lieutenant in the United States Army. And I'll appreciate a little prayer for her. She's currently on deployment to South Korea. She's been there since about October. I got to talk to her last night on the phone for about a half an hour, so that's like gold, you know. Her husband, Luke, and she's a combat engineer in the Army, and so she's, about third in her unit in command, doing a super good job. Her husband, Luke's also a West Point grad. Interestingly enough, Luke comes from a family of 9. His dad's an immigrant from El Salvador, came to the United States and couldn't speak English. Worked in a cafe, met his wife, which is Luke's mom. They got married, they started this family, they have 9 kids. He now has earned, he can speak great English, one of the greatest guys I've ever met. Has his own HVAC company, works for the union. And so I tell Luke all the time, Luke, you can't complain about how tough you have it when your dad had to do all that. So I think that's pretty cool. Luke's a West Point grad. He's an infantry soldier, airborne, special ranges, special forces, and a ranger. So he's one of the toughest kids I know, but you would never know that because he's the nicest kid you'd ever meet. So they're all on deployment. Both of them are on deployment. My youngest daughter, Camille, goes to UNO. She's studying criminal justice. And the other night she texted me. She said, Dad, can we go out for dinner? And when your 18-year-old daughter texts you and says, can we go for dinner, you always go. And that's also a goal. And then we lost our son Reed to suicide in 2016. And I'm comfortable talking about that. I'm going to talk about that today. And I'm going to challenge all of you to make a difference in kindness, which I'm sure you will. But what's important to me is hope. And for me, at the end of the day, I believe my job is to be the CEO of Hope in our district. And hopefully wider than that, for sure, for our kids and our community, our students and our parents and our staff. Hope is you're looking forward to something better to come. So think about if you don't have any hope or any thoughts that something better to come is, I don't think it can get lower than that. And so we want to make sure that we're doing what we can to provide hope for our kids. I think about myself, first generation college, and the upbringing I had, but I had 2 parents that were fighting for me every single day. I don't have that for every kid in our school. I had a dad call me yesterday. He was madder than a hornet about some things. And he said, I hope you're not upset that I'm talking to you. I said, no, I'm actually happy you're talking to me, even though you're a little upset, because I got a lot of kids that don't have a dad fighting for them like you are. So that's good. That's good. We just got to make sure we channel it in the right direction. And by the end of the conversation, we had a good plan, and we're moving. We're going forward. We're going to take care of his kids. He wanted to make sure we were taking care of his kids. And I said, thanks for calling. That's what we got to do. We don't hit the mark every day, but that's the goal. And if we don't hit the mark, we'll figure out how do we maybe move around and do a little bit better. So that's what we want for our kids, and that's what we're trying to replicate. We do a lot of work in our school. 2 of the biggest investments we make are in early childhood education. And so we always talk about the achievement gap. If we don't get kids started well in school, that achievement gap is going to develop early. If we don't have our kids be early readers, they're going to be sunk. Because there's a time, and my dissertation was on reading, so I know a little bit about reading. But there's a time when, early on when you're young, you're learning to read, right? At a certain point, you then read to learn. If you haven't learned to read well, and then now you have to read to learn, especially in social science textbooks and stuff like that at the secondary level in high school, they're written at the 16th, 17th, 18th grade level. If you can't read that, and you have to learn, why do you think maybe we have some discipline problems once in a while? You know, they're going to go to something they know to get attention because they're not having success with their studies. So that's all part of that. We have a 4-year-old preschool in every one of our buildings, paid for by the district. Matter of fact, registration opened on Monday, and the line was out the door to make sure their kids got in there. Okay? You don't have to pay for it. We're trying to get our kids kindergarten ready. It's awesome. 4 days a week. And then on Friday we do home visiting and parent education with our teachers, which is great for that. The other thing we've invested in a lot is college and career readiness. Excuse me. I want every kid that leaves our school to have hope for something better to come. And that doesn't mean 4-year college. I'm going to tell you, if we're guiding every one of our kids to 4-year college, that's malpractice in today's world. But if we can have a kid go to military, have a welding certificate, 2-year, 4-year, whatever that is, that's awesome. It's a huge win for me if I see our kids be able to find a job they love that can pay the bills, and that might be the first time in their family's history that they can stand on their own. That's over the top. And so that's what we want. So, kindness. I love this quote from Mark Twain. It says, "Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see." If you really unpack that, it's powerful. And that's how important kindness is. When we talk to young people, we go to schools. My wife and I, once in a while, go to schools and talk to young people about this. I say Mark Twain lived a little while ago. And what that means to me is kindness was cool way back then. It's cool now, and it's not going to go out of style. So that's pretty important. This is just about me, my journey. Dr. Myers kind of already told about that. The first 2 pages in there are kind of about me. The reason I put that in there is because as of July 1, I'm unemployed, so I don't have a job yet. So if you guys got somebody that's looking for somebody to work, give that to them, okay? That's part of my resume. I'm also very proud to be a United States Army veteran. So that's kind of cool in our family too. It wasn't something we told our daughter Jade, you have to do. She kind of came up with this on her own. My dad was in the Army. I was in the Army. My daughter's in the Army. I'm just proud of that lineage of service. So I'm going to brag about her just really quick. And this is how powerful it is, that things that happen in schools. And there's a lot of people talking about stuff happening in schools, about all this stuff we do that's bad, and I want you to know that's not true. But anyway, you'll have to make your own decisions on that. I'm not going to share my political views today. I'm going to present these 10 bills we're going to talk about in an unbiased fashion. You can make your own decisions. But I want to tell you a quick story about my daughter Jade. One day at Ralston High, we had a speaker come in. I didn't have anything to do with this. It was a JAG officer, so it's a military attorney. She come home and was so fired up about that, just couldn't quit talking about it. And I think that's where it all started. Then we had some friends that their daughter went to the academy, and so we talked to Jade about that, and so she's keyed up. Next thing you know, she goes to West Point. She still always had this desire to be an attorney. So at the academy, she has a double major in language. Arabic and French is her major at the academy. So this spring, she says, I want to apply for this special program with the Army where if I get accepted, they'll pay for me to go to any law school that I can get into, and they'll pay for my salary while I go. So they'll just continue to pay her as a first lieutenant. Actually, I think she's going to be a captain here pretty shortly. She was talking to me about that last night. She got accepted. So she was able to earn, after application and put in all her information about her academic performance, one of 25 spots to do this program. Now she has herself, she's applied to 7 law schools across the country. Her number one is Vanderbilt. She has not been accepted there yet. So far, she has been accepted at Syracuse and Washburn. She's hoping to hear from Texas, Alabama, Washington. I'm trying to think of what other ones. But at any rate, she's going to do some good stuff. And so I'm excited. I'm happy for her that she keeps chasing her dream and whatnot. So this is our family. These are the people I've been talking about. So that's my wife Joni and I on the right. These are the kids that I've been talking about. So sometimes, you know, life is going to deal us a curveball. And all you guys, I'm just going to talk about COVID. So I couldn't wait to go to West Point graduation. If you don't know it, every year either the superintendent or the president or the vice president are the guest speakers at graduation at West Point. They rotate. The year Jay graduated was going to be President Trump, 2020. Well, it was during COVID. They didn't have a graduation that you could attend. You got to watch online. Those two were also, that's Luke, my son-in-law, the guy I told you about, and Jade. They also were going to get married, and that didn't happen either. And so, so we watched graduation online. They had decided, you know, since we couldn't have a church wedding because of all the COVID things and everything was going crazy, they were going to get married in the backyard of Luke's house. He lives in New Jersey, about an hour from the academy. And so we were here in Omaha, and Joni's like, we cannot not be there. So we watched graduation online. We were at a softball tournament for my daughter Camille, who now is out of school. We loaded up a plane for later that day. We had her wedding dress that we had bought in a suitcase, and we flew to New Jersey, and we surprised them. And we went to the wedding that was in the backyard. My wife likes to perform weddings, so she did the wedding for her daughter, and we brought her her dress that she didn't think she was going to be able to wear. So you make the best of what the situation is. So at any rate, onward. Told you a little bit about our school. Like I said, we are 7 square miles right in the middle of the city. We serve about 3,500 kids, pre-K through 12. 60% poverty, 40 different languages. You know, the biggest, about 38% Latino, about 11% African American, and you know, white and other different races and ethnicities. We have an awesome school. We have awesome kids. I will tell you, our best kids are as good as anybody's best kids in the country. You know, plain and simple. We have great teachers. Some of the best teachers I've ever met are right in our schools. And I say to our teachers all the time, be a leader, lead where you are. If you are a math teacher at Ralston High, you can lead from that spot. And I want to challenge you to do that, and they do it. Some we'll talk about a little later, but there's never been a time in our country's history, in Mark Adler's opinion, that we need to stand for our kids and have great teachers, keep doing good stuff with high expectations. You know, we have 60% of our kids that live in poverty. If we expect less out of them, they're going to continue to live in generational poverty forever. But if we expect a lot, maybe those can be the kids that get that first job that they love, that they want to go to, that they can now make a salary around there, you know, and have a great situation for their family. Okay, if you turn in your booklet, there should be a few pages in there. It should look like this: 10 legislative bills to watch. I'm going to go over these quick, and we'll kind of go from there. I think I'm doing pretty good on time, and I'll be happy to answer questions too. So if you have a question or two, I'll be happy to answer those here in a little while. First one I'm going to talk about is LB 800. LB 800 is sponsored by Senator Mervin in the Education Committee. The subject is change provisions related to Superintendent Pay Transparency Act and provide a limit for superintendent and educational service unit administrator compensation. So basically, this is a shot at superintendents from our government about some of you guys make too much money. And here's what I want you to know. The job is tough. I'm not going to stand up here and talk to you about we deserve more or anything like that. Mark Adler's opinion. This is one I'll probably give a little bit of opinion on. You get what you pay for, okay? So if you limit stuff, you may get exactly what you want, and maybe that isn't the best leader that you want for your district. Here's the other thing I'm going to highlight a little bit. Our budget's about $55 million. So I'm responsible for a business that is taking care of $55 million worth of stuff. We employ 550 employees. And here's the other thing. The parents send the best they have to us every day. That's pretty important work, right? And so, in my opinion, you want to have a good leader. And I'm not saying money is everything, but I'm going to tell you, if you start paying, limiting what the superintendent can make, that's going to limit the people that are going to apply for jobs. And here's a newsflash for you, not everybody wants some of these jobs, because there's some folks out there that make our job difficult. And so yes.
When you consider what the superintendent of schools get paid versus, the business world would never tolerate what the salary is for a superintendent.
Yep. So a small business is going to be a few million.
What was the question?
Great question. Okay, I'm sorry. The question was, or it was more of a statement if you were looking at it from the business perspective, and you were paying a CEO of a business that was running a $50 million business, $220,000, they wouldn't stand for that. I mean, those people make a lot of money. They're, a lot more than $220,000. So that was the association there, and absolutely correct. So at any rate, the other thing, and this is a little something if you want to do something on your spare time, we already have the Superintendent Pay Transparency Act. So that's already in place. What they're trying to do is just limit how much a superintendent can make. So basically, and I don't remember what the multiplier was, but what they're going to do is they're going to take the total compensation of a teacher, is it 5? Beginning teacher, and the superintendent can only make 5 times what that total compensation of a teacher is. And that's probably not far off. I mean, it's probably kind of in the zone, so we're not talking about, incredible reductions and stuff like that. But it's just the fact that in Nebraska, one of the things we really work hard on is local control. We put a lot of responsibility on our Board of Education to speak for the people they represent. And this takes away another one of their options, and that's not awesome. Right now, you can go to any school district website in Nebraska. If you want to know what their superintendent makes, they must post it on their website. So if you go there, you might have to dig down a few pages. Probably going to be somewhere in the Board of Education page. At our school, I've got my own page. It's in administration. You can click on me. You can click on stuff about me, and documents are right there. My contract is there, so everything that I have allowable to me is right there. My contract posted on the website. And another thing called Schedule D, which outlines my salary and any benefit. So, like I get a cell phone reimbursement every month. That's on there. Any mileage, anything that is a compensation item has to be listed on that Schedule D, and that's there for public to look at. You can look at any school in Nebraska right now. So, moving on, LB 583. I'm gonna put these into 3 categories. I'm gonna lump the next 3 together. So we have a new governor, Governor Pillen. He's made a commitment that he's going to invest in education, which I think is great. Some of the stuff is, so I'm going to talk from my school's perspective. Some of this stuff is great for our school, some of this stuff is not. So LB 583 is introduced by Senator Sanders. She's from Bellevue Education Committee. Provide foundation aid and special education supplemental aid under the Tax Equity and Educational Opportunity Support Act. That act is called TIOSA. We call that TIOSA in school world. That basically is the funding formula for schools for the state of Nebraska. The foundation aid part is the part I don't like. It provides $1,500 for every student in Nebraska in a public school, which sounds great, okay? But we are a school where our local resources don't generate enough money to take care of what we need for our kids. And that's all done by a formula. This stuff is very complicated. I'm going to try to explain it, hopefully some way, the way you can understand it. So then, our local resources don't meet what we need for our kids. So then that's when state aid from the state kicks in and that fills in the gap, right? So for us, and the total levy you can have in Nebraska for general fund is $1.05. So you cannot go over $1.05. So what we're doing is we're taxing our taxpayers at $1.05, plus we're getting money from the state to fill that gap to make sure we have enough to take care of our kids. That's how it works. Some schools, and normally these are rural schools, they have so much land and they have fewer kids that their local resources, their taxes that they collect are more than enough to take care of their kids. And so their levies could be 50 cents, 70 cents, 80 cents, okay? That's a lot less than what our people in Ralston are paid. But that $1,500 is going to go to them. So basically, they're going to get $1,500 per every student they have in the district, which is going to allow them to lower their levy. And where I have a problem with that is my folks in my district aren't going to get the levy lowered. Because there's also a thing in there that $1,500 is considered an accountable receipt, which goes towards our local revenue, which then so we're going to get it, right? But then the way it works in the formula, that's going to reduce what the state has to pay us. So it's going to be $1,500 in and $1,500 out on the other side for us. It's going to be a wash. But a small school who isn't equalized, who doesn't get that extra to fill in the gap, they're going to be able to use that $1,500 and do whatever they want with it. Most likely they'll probably lower their levy even more. So now instead of having a 50-cent levy, they might have a 45-cent levy. That's not great for us. I don't like that. It's not equitable to our people. But every superintendent is going to stand in front of here and tell you a different story, because if they're the ones that are getting that extra funding, they're going to fight for it because they are hired to support their school. So, you know, it is what it is. That's where our legislators have a lot of tough decisions to make, because everybody, you know, is wanting a little extra.
So
Well, yes,
it
ma'am.
sounds like it's pitting rural against urban.
It's been that way for a long time. Yeah, and we all get along, don't get me wrong, but it's definitely a different, rural and urban, and that's what's so difficult about Nebraska, is you have different systems across, you know, education systems across Nebraska that just require different thoughts, you know, different approaches. You know, my first teaching job was Petersburg, Nebraska. We had 120 kids K through 12. I mean, that was one of the best places I ever taught. But here's what I'll tell you. Great teaching and learning looks the same in Petersburg as it does in Elgin, where we have 3,500 kids. So that's important to know, that the things we're working on are no less important no matter where you're at. And so I think we all get that. But rural and urban, their funding components look different, and it does make them clash once in a while. It's not awesome. Now, what's good about this is special education. 80%, what they want to do is they want to take special ed reimbursement up to 80%. Right now, we're at about 49%, 47%. It's supposed to be at 80%. What happens is the state runs out of money, they ratchet that down so they can fit it into their budget. I mean, it's just like at home. If you don't have enough to cover what you want, then what do you got to do? Cut something out. So special ed has been reduced a long ways. Now, that would not be counted as a local accountable receipt, which would help us. And I love that, because that's going to be quite a few million for us if we do that. So that's Senator Sanders. That's bill number 1 in the governor's package. Bill number 2 in the governor's package is LB 589, introduced by Senator Breezy in front of the Revenue Committee. The biggest thing about this is Senator Breezy is concerned that schools are spending too much. And so what this bill does, it puts a 3% cap on your ability to raise your budget, to raise what you spend from one year to the next, okay? That's not great. Now, the board, with supermajority, can override that. In our school, we can override it up to 5%, okay? I'm going to give you a couple things here. I hope I'm not carrying on too long. Last year, so we have teachers that need to be paid, right? About 80% of our budget is personnel. Our teachers, our base salary, I think, is about $38,700, maybe, something like that right now. I'd have to go back and look exactly, but around that area. We need to give our teachers a good raise. Last year, we gave our classified employees a $2 raise across the board, every single one of them. And what I worry about is, and I was telling Dr. Myers before this, I still don't know that they got more money in their paycheck because of inflation. You know, so our lowest paid workers, we gave a $2 raise, which was a very big increase, you know, percentage-wise. But at the end of the day, I don't know if they have more money to buy gas to put in their car because of inflation and how our world is going. We're going to try to do another $1 this year. But when you do that, teacher salaries, increase in classified employees, of course, our gas prices are going up, electric's going up, we still have to keep the building open, we still have to keep moving. It's more than 3%. So how are we going to balance all that? And and what I worry about is some of my peers, so Elkhorn, Bennington, Papillion, they're building houses out there faster than you can blink of your eye. And their valuation is going up 10, 12, 14%. And they can only access 3. How in the world are they going to open these new buildings? It's just, it's over the top. So this is not a good bill, but it has good things in it, right? But that part's not great. The third part of the governor's package is a couple more pages in. LB 681, it's Senator Clements in front of appropriations. This also has foundation aid in it. It also has increased special ed, and the biggest thing it does is it creates the Education Future Fund. It's, the state is going to commit $1 billion from their cash reserve to create this Education Future Fund. Kind of like, I think we have a highway fund that we put money into and stuff like this. This is going to create an Education Future Fund. That's awesome. It also says that we're going to put $250 million a year into this fund to keep it going, and that's going to help fund some of these extra things like foundation aid that they're talking about for schools. That's all great. What people like me worry about, skeptics, is right now we're flush with money down in Lincoln, here in Lincoln. That may not happen forever. And so what happens is when you're not flush with money, they have to start cutting back. And do you think they're going to cut back in $1 billion? You better believe they are. What they do is they go into the state aid formula, they make a couple tweaks, and everybody gets a little less, which is, you know, that'd be fair, right? But our costs are still increasing. I just worry, so the political part of the school leader is, it's hard to say no. It's hard to say no to more money, but we see a train wreck coming down the road. That's what we worry about a little bit. And our legislators are smart people. They know this too. I hope they're thinking a little bit further on, you know, what comes next type of thing. All right, keep buzzing through here. The next one is LB 753. LB 753 is Senator Linehan, revenue. It creates the Opportunity Scholarship Act and provides tax credits. It has 30 co-sponsors, and basically what this is going to do is it's going to allow people to take tax credits for corporate or personal, and then that money can be set to a fund that can help pay for private school tuition. Catholic school, private school, things like this.
Is that only for their child?
No, any child. I think it goes into a fund and then you can access it. So not just for their child. The other thing is, it's dollar for dollar tax credit, which is not normal in a lot of places. I don't think your church contribution is dollar for dollar, but this one is. And so that makes it a little unfair. Here's the other thing you need to know. In my opinion, Nebraska has never supported any type of charter, voucher, credits like this. We've never had it. And the reason we've never had it is, you know, what they'll say is it's only 25 million, but then the next year it can grow to 50, and it keep on going. And at the end of the day, just like I talked about with the Education Future Fund, it's dollars going someplace else. And when you get to the end of the line, and you know you need more dollars, but you don't have them, something's going to get cut. And I got a pretty good feeling where it's going to go. And here's what I also want you to know: we have a parochial school in our district, St. Gerald's Elementary. That principal is one of my best friends. We work on stuff together all the time. I am a big advocate for private school, Catholic school, but you know their mission is a little different than ours, but their kids are still important. We work together. So, But here again, I still think it's a personal choice. You're getting some of my personal opinions here. I gotta keep on moving. Okay, LB 374. Yes, ma'am.
So there's a movie that if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend you view it, and it's called Backpack Full of Cash. And it talks about exactly that thing around the country and the charter schools and how we're taking that away from public education. So I think you can download it on the web, but it's Backpack Full of Cash. And every child comes with a backpack, basically. is what it's called.
What was the name of the movie?
It's Backpack Full of Cash.
I have one question on that bill also. Would the private schools would not be held to the same standards as the public schools, isn't that true?
They get tax money.
You got it. So I was gonna bring that up too, and I'm glad you brought it up. The rules aren't the same either.
Oh,
They don't have
gosh.
to take all the kids.
Right.
They don't have to take all the kids.
Can kick 'em
Their accountability is different than ours. They would tell you they don't, but you're. Yeah. So,
once they recruit
yeah.
students for Jesus.
Yeah. So, here again, I don't want to get too deep into the political side of it, because I do believe in private parochial education as a choice for a parent. And I'm going to tell you, we have some great private schools in Omaha. But still, I think we got to keep that separation, in my opinion. But they're not following the same rules. They don't have to accept whoever. They would tell you that that's not true. And I think most of folks, I don't think the Catholic parochial schools in Omaha are being real selective. But here again, if there's a kid at St. Gerald's in our district that needs special ed services, we're helping them, okay? We're doing that already, okay?
Would their school board meetings be open to the public?
I don't know if I know the answer to that. Yes, ma'am.
One thing with, more kids coming into the schools from other countries that
Right.
do not speak English, isn't that taken away from your budget as well?
We serve
Having to hire teachers, translators.
Yeah, so we serve a lot of kids that don't have English as their primary language, probably about 16% or 20% in our school. We get extra state funding for that, so that
Oh,
helps
you
us.
get extras,
Yep.
okay.
So there's qualifiers in the state formula that help us with kids in poverty, help us with what we call EL students, and other things like that. So we get extra to help with that, but it takes more. It takes more to do that, so you're on target there. Okay, I gotta get rolling. LB 374, Senator Merman. LB 374 and LB 71, I'm gonna kind of lump these two together, and I'm digging into my time here. These two are, basically speak to the Parents' Bill of Rights. So we have all this conversation across the country about we have these negative materials in schools, and teachers are teaching things they're not supposed to. And so basically, these two bills try to give parents more rights of reviewing materials. Teachers have to have their materials posted on a website, I think 90 days in advance, and all this kind of stuff. And a parent can question that stuff. Guys, it's over the top, okay? Here's what I want you to know. We already have in our school right now, and I will guarantee you that almost every school in Nebraska has it, maybe every one. It might even be a part of Rule 10, which is state accreditation. Parent involvement policy. Our parents already can review our materials if they want to. Our parents already can say, I don't want my kid in that lesson. They can remove their kids from certain lessons if they want to. I believe our parents already have these things available to them, okay? So I don't think these things are necessary. I'm giving you advice here, so I need to get moving. I said I was gonna try to do this without giving too much Mark Adler advice here. I'm not doing a very good job at it. Okay. LR 24CA, this is one that you maybe haven't heard about. This is, so what this would do is a constitutional amendment to eliminate the State Board of Education and provide for the governor to appoint the Commissioner of Ed. We're one of about, I want to say, maybe 8 to 10 states in the country that our state board and our governor are not, or our state board and our Commissioner of Ed are not directly appointed by the governor, okay?
Oh, wow.
So, the way we do it now, in my opinion, is the right way to do it. Our state board members are elected, our commissioner of ed is appointed by the state board, just like I'm appointed by our Board of Education. And then they do their work, right? Now, the legislature still has supervision over them through law and those kinds of things. But this would not, in my opinion, this would not be good. Every time we had a new governor, let's just say we go from Democrat to Republican, then you're gonna have a whole new State Department. You're gonna, and that's how it is in the United States of America. I mean, you know, you have
Yeah.
one president, and then they, you know, appoint a whole new education, you know, department. Like right now, we have Secretary Cardona, who, by the way, was just in Omaha this week.
Right.
Yeah, it's at Bryan and is at ESU 3, which is about a mile from our district. But at any rate, then those policies change every 4 years, every 8 years. It's not great. But we also don't want, we're trying to do what's good for kids and hopefully keep that political line out of there. And I think it's going to bring too much political tug of war in there. I just don't like it. Okay, so that's there. I don't know how much force that has, but it's there. LB 519 is Senator Walls. Senator Walls is a great friend to education. She's on the education committee. This is basically a mixture of things to help support teacher pipeline, teacher recruitment, those kinds of things. So one of the things is, in this bill, she's trying to reduce fees for certification. And, you know, it's okay. I don't think fees are what are such a big deal. I'll tell you something. We've been doing it at our school. We just started this year, and it's, I don't know how much it happens across the country. I don't think a lot. For the first time ever in our district's history, we're paying our student teachers $4,000 a semester. So if you don't know it or not, student teachers don't get paid. Okay, so when a student teacher is getting ready to do their student teaching, it's just like a normal internship for a business, right? They have to commit to a semester, plus they're paying credit hours at their college, usually 15 to 18 hours. So they're paying credit hours, they're going to the school and work every day, just like a normal teacher. They're there at 7 in the morning until whatever time at night. They get $0 for that. And then we're gonna turn out paying $38,000. And so it's a bad combination. What we really are trying to do is get the best student teachers we can. They have a 6-month interview process, and I'm gonna tell you right now, if they're good, I try to hire them before they leave. I've done that about 4 or 5 times in the last year or so. We pay them $4,000 for the semester. It's basically $1,000 a month when they're teaching. We pay them as an independent contractor. There's so much stuff we had to get through. Because, you know, if you bring them on your staff, then they have to pay retirement. They got all these things, and then all that money that we give them, which isn't a lot, $1,000 a month isn't a lot, is now, you know, a third gone. I think it's the right thing to do. Not everybody's doing it. We want the best teachers we can get, so we're trying to do that. Okay. 7:20. I got till what time?
Got about
It's
5
11:20
minutes.
right now.
How long do I have?
5 more
Give you
minutes.
5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, I want to get to a couple more things. I'm sorry, you guys.
You're doing
Okay, the
good.
last one I have in here, and then I want to get to a couple things about kindness. LB 575, sponsor Senator Cal, Education Committee. It's the Adopt the Sports and Spaces Act. This is not an awesome bill. Basically, it's an attack on transgender kids. Who can use what bathrooms. It has punitive damages in districts if they do things inappropriately and how they handle this stuff. It's up for hearing tomorrow in front of the Education Committee. I'm going to let you make your own decisions on that, but I'm going to tell you, well, this is what I'll tell you. In 2012, they hired me to be superintendent. They didn't say, Mark, we want you to be superintendent for part of the kids. They said, we want you to stand for all our kids. And I'm going to tell you, we have transgender kids in our school. This is not awesome. So, but here again, I can't really speak out too much about it because I think we know what I'm talking about. Okay, a couple things I want to talk to you about. This is educated workforce. There's a page in there for you to take a look at it. So it's before the bills. I think it's a crisis. Folks, it is a crisis that we're dealing with. We have less kids going into education, which is not awesome. So our preparation and the kids going in there isn't great. We've working like crazy for recruitment in our school, and one of those things is paying student teachers. Hey, you come teach at our school, we're gonna pay you $4,000, and hopefully we can hire you right away. And then retention. We wanna keep the best teachers we have. I'm gonna tell you, we have some of the best teachers in the country right in Ralston, and we're doing everything we can to keep them. That is, it's not always money, but trying to raise their salary, but trying to have a great place for them to come work. Okay, trying to have a great culture that they love to come to every day. And everything matters. Everything matters. Here's one example. I get to tell them too many stories. I'm so old, I have a lot of stories. One of the districts I worked at, not Ralston, if payday was on the 18th, teachers get paid once a month if you didn't know. If payday was on the 18th, if that fell on a Saturday or Sunday, they would pay you the following workday, right? In our district, if payday is on a Saturday or Sunday, you get paid the previous workday, okay? Now, is that a big deal? Probably not.
No, it is.
But here's what I tell our leadership team. Everything we do sends a message. And the message before is, our district's money is more important than you getting your money, right? Because, our payroll is about $2.5 million a month. So if we keep that in the bank for another day or two, we're gonna get a little bit extra money. But we give it to our people because we think they need it, right? Everything we do sends a message. Okay. This is my son Reed. I want to talk to you really quick about this. So in 2016, we lost our son Reed to suicide. January 7, 2016. Reed was an awesome kid, okay? But what Reed wasn't was perfect. And so there's a lot to take and unpack on here. What Reed did is he took a picture of his midsection with no clothes on when he was in 8th grade, about halfway through. We didn't know any of this before Reed passed away. So he took that picture, which was mistake number 1. He sent that to a girl, which was mistake number 2. It was not a nice girl. And from the time he sent that picture to her until the day he died, she would blackmail, manipulate, and intimidate him. If you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to share this picture on social media. She knew he was a popular kid in our school. I mean, he was a 3-sport athlete. He was a smart kid. He loved people. He was just the nicest kid you ever meet. He was the kid that was sticking up for other people in the locker room because he was big. I got notes after he passed away from kids that said, Reed used to stick up for me in the locker room. So, but what happened is, when he was a freshman, that girl kept doing that, and finally he said, I've had enough of this. And he quit communicating. He said, I'm pulling back. That made her mad. She then shared that picture on social media. And his answer to that was, I'm a failure, and he took his own life in the middle of the night. So, this was us, the last 4th of July that we had together. We always walked in the Independence Day Parade together. He was a great kid, you guys. This is our family. Joni and I talked about the 15-year gift, and get a little religious with you here. If God came to you and said, I'm going to give you the most precious gift you've ever had, but you've got to give it back in 15 years, what would you say? You say, bring it, right? And that's the zone we're in. We got the most precious gift. This kid was the greatest kid. He was my little buddy. But we had to give him back. And we're all better for it, and our world's better to have him here. So I want you to think about the influence of great educators. Every one of you, I can guarantee right now, can think of who made a difference in their life when you were in school, whether that's elementary school, middle school, high school, or college. What they do, how they make you feel, all those kinds of things. That's what I talk about our teachers all the time. Make a difference. Be that person. Sadly, I've got a couple that I think of that weren't awesome. And I hope our teachers aren't like them, okay? Leadership, we must lead for our kids all the time. I told you this already about leadership, and we gotta stand in support of our kids, and all means all. So when we talk about LB 575, man, we gotta talk for all our kids. Envy no one, admire someone, strive to be better. I talk with our teachers about what are your non-negotiables. What is it at the end of the day that you will not sacrifice no matter what? For me, it's trust and relationships. I'm not the smartest superintendent in the metro area, I guarantee you. But what I am good at is I care about my people. I know about them, I know about their families, and I'm there to support them as much as I can. On my resume, the second page of my resume, it has some stuff in there about the stewardship pledge. That's basically what we expect of teachers in our school. Basically, it's work hard, be a good teammate, collaboration. If you don't do great, find a way to make it better. Get yourself better, improve. But the biggest thing is fiercely advocate for our kids. There's no quicker way to get a trip down to my office and visit with me, which is at a central location, if I find out you're running our kids down. Just make me furious. If our own people are running our kids down, we have no shot, okay? And so that's the stewardship pledge. Yes?
Question regarding bullying, which I abhor 100%. What are teachers able to do to stop students from bullying other students if they're seeing it, dealing with it immediately?
First of all, we got to address it right away. We can't just pass it over. Remember I talked about everything we do sends a message? If we see something happening in our hallways or our classrooms and we just turn our head, we have just activated that bully to keep doing it. And our teachers are good at it. They, converse with our kids. Sadly, our school has lived through this whole thing about Reed, and so they know the impacts of, negative behavior and whatnot. But we just got to keep talking about it. We got to teach our kids. We got to do the right thing.
Also, I'm sorry,
Go for it.
the second part of the question is, we live behind a school in Gibbon, Nebraska. We see 5- and 6-year-olds that walk home by themselves and are home by themselves until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. What can we do as a society to help these kids, because mom and dad are out working until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and these kids are falling through the cracks?
Yeah, you got it. I don't know if I have the answer to that one, but you're right. And, we can't really talk too bad about the parents, because they're working hard. They're trying to make ends meet. They're loving their kids.
What we're doing in Gibbon is creating safe homes.
Yep.
So they don't have to go home by themselves. They don't have to be home by themselves till 8 or 9 o'clock. They can be with their classmates, they can be with their friends.
I think we need to keep having that as a community conversation. That's what I have. Folks, I do have one other thing. I would ask you to spread a little kindness. That's what my son was so good at. He was a guy that if you're having a bad day, he's going to crack a joke. He was going to hold the door open. He never wanted any of his friends not to have something to do, so we always had 10 or 12 kids in my basement. He was a great kid, but he wasn't perfect. But he was kind. He was just so kind. And so that's where all this kind of started. I've got a bunch of stickers here. They go great on computers. They go great on the back of your car. I got one for if you guys want one. If you clean me out, I got more at home, that's okay. But I want to challenge you to do something kind. It doesn't have to be big. It can be holding the door open, a smile, put this on your car, just spread a little extra, okay? You guys have been great. I'm sorry I didn't have time for questions. I'll be around here, though, if you want to talk.
I want to thank Dr. Adler very much for sharing not only interesting information about the legislative bills, but about the importance of being kind and to share his personal story. That's not an easy thing to do. I appreciate that so much. Thank you, Dr. Adler.